There is a story. One day I went to visit one of my friends. He worked in the police, and this was in the 90s. And he had a secretary, a young, very beautiful girl. She was absolutely pale, trembling, and crying. I asked what had happened. She said, "They just shot my boyfriend, an operative. I knew him too, a very nice, handsome young man." And she was pregnant. They were about to get married, and he literally died. And she says, "I think you will commit suicide." I say, "Well, if you commit suicide, then your life, the life of your future child, and it's not a fact that you will reunite with your beloved in heaven." She asks, "Why?" I say this because there is the law of karma, and this is karma. She asks, "What can I do?" I reply, "You can pray for him. I am a Muslim. I do not go to church." I say prayer is not a matter of the church. It is a matter of the conversation between a person and God. And I gave her a book. This book is called The Revelatory Tales of a Wanderer. This is a Christian book about the power of prayer. Why did I do this? Because in this state, a person needed something very understandable, something that they could perceive at their own level. The Revelatory Tales of the Wanderer is an amazing story about a man who lost everything in this world, but gained prayer, and through prayer, attained the grace of the Lord. When she read this book, she called me and said that she wanted to learn how to pray. I told her that there are Vedic prayers such as the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and that this mantra possesses incredible power. At first, this girl began to pray to atone for her beloved. Her motivation was sincere, but evidently quite superficial, because in this world, according to the law of karma, we meet and part ways. And perhaps this separation, no matter how difficult it was, served as a catalyst for this person to go through prayer and transformation. And I conversed with this girl, and she sincerely began to practice spiritual discipline. After some time, she went to India, received initiation from our spiritual teacher, and it so happened that she had one child, then she met another guy, and she had 2 or 3 more children. In general, she found the family life she had always dreamed of, because the Lord fulfills the desires of our hearts. And so it happened that our paths didn't exactly diverge, but I didn't communicate with her as often, very rarely, perhaps because she had children, a family, and maybe she moved out of town and so on. Besides, I was traveling all the time. But the power of prayer still amazed me, because I saw how real people change thanks to prayer, especially in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Why the Maha Mantra? Because the Maha Mantra is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The highest prayers are recited in Kali Yuga, the age of degradation in which we live. And believe me, this is not about technological progress. People can adapt implants for themselves, bioprosthetics, extending their lives, but at the same time being cold, reptilian beings, unempathetic, selfish, and cruel. And we see the more the world grows, the more it fosters individualism, cruelty, and indifference. Therefore, one should not think that in the progressive world of technology, people become more progressive as a result. Quite the opposite is true. The more information people receive, the more superficially they relate to it. They reject it. The more opportunities people receive, the more they degrade as a result of those opportunities. And the more they supposedly progress, the more inhumane they become. Because for them, their selfish goals and tasks become the top priority. Such is the Kali Yuga, the era in which we live. Some may say that there have been other times, tumultuous times in Europe and so on. But it must be said that despite all of this, it is clear that we know very little about true history, and it is very difficult for us to imagine the future, even more so than the past. But everything stems from our perception of the world, our consciousness. And therefore, in Kali Yuga, for those who wish to strive for spiritual enlightenment, the shortest and most powerful path is given, which is beyond the reach of even many yogis. Why? Because ultimately, the entire system of mystical yoga leads to prayer. Those who truly know what yoga is, I do not mean physical education. Physical education is one of the systems called asana. Next come pranayama, breathing, preparation for deep meditation, and deep meditation itself, which all work with prayer. Even asana and pranayama are performed in classical Raja Yoga with mantras and breath to achieve the greatest effect. But this is merely mantra yoga. It is the preparation of a person for bhakti, for love, and love, prayer filled with love. This is what the great ascetics of orthodoxy and indeed the great saints of all religions practiced. And we see that there were only a few such prayerful individuals, even though there were a vast number of believers. In this book, The Revelation of the Wanderer says that I heard from the gospel that we should engage in constant prayer, but I could not find a single priest who could explain this meaning to me. But when I met the wanderers, true spiritual personalities who were completely detached from the material world, they explained to me how it is done, And thus I understood that there is an external aspect, such as rituals, candles, icons. In any religion, whether in Islam or Hinduism, there is an external part and an internal part of human life. Therefore, when we study the sacred scriptures, we read the stories of these great yogis and ascetics who went into the caves in the Himalayas, were simple, unrecognizable people, and engaged in spiritual practice and prayer. In the Vedas, we do not read about priests who had many temples, sold a lot of candles, and had huge reserves of grain. At that time, everyone worshipped them, kissed their feet, and admired their golden fingers. They would come out, adorned with precious stones, and people were just like, wow. In fact, these people did not make it into the pages of the sacred scriptures. The pages of the sacred scriptures are filled with ordinary people who practiced bhakti, those who, as a result of life's difficulties, and we spoke about difficulties as an essential part of our spiritual journey, have come to a true understanding of God, meaning the Lord has bestowed upon them special grace by giving them challenges, while also providing them with methods to overcome all difficulties, which is prayer, and prayer, it must be constant. Therefore, there is a system where prayer first cleanses the mind when a person repeats it, then it slowly descends into the heart and comes out through the eyes. What is this? The mind is not just our head, it is in fact the state of our consciousness. And the mind is polluted and contaminated. Because the mind is like a filter, it is like artificial intelligence through which we perceive this external world. But the mind is also a kind of filter that separates the soul, our true self, from this world. And therefore, to see the world through the eyes of the soul and to see the world through the eyes of the mind are completely two different things. The eyes, mind, and intellect are what we gain through our sensory experiences, even some inner intuition. But the eyes of the soul are the awakened gaze of faith, divine consciousness, and transformational vision, when we see that the Lord is present everywhere, and there is a higher meaning behind every event. Then we go out, looking not only at what is on stage, but also understanding the meaning of this performance. And in this regard, indeed, the soul awakens only through prayer, and prayer is never a request. Because those who think that prayer is a request, give, save, protect, and so on, are mistaken. Prayer is not a request, it is glorification. We can only glorify the Lord, for He is the source of beauty and love. We can only glorify love. We chant the holy name of God, understanding that He has many holy names. The scriptures mention many holy names. For example, the Brahmins in South India recite the Vishnu Sahasranama, 1,000 names of Vishnu, the creator, omnipotent, all-pervading, judge, engineer of the universe, and so on. By simply reciting these thousands of names of the Lord, they understand His infinite qualities, that everything is indeed created by Him, that He is the creator of all, and that He is the well-wisher of everyone. He is the supporter, He is the destroyer, He is the giver of life, and the taker of life. He is the one who provides the eternal path of the soul, and He is the one who sanctifies this path as light, the planets, and so on, as well as the sun, the moon, and so forth. That is to say, everything is permeated by the Lord. Everything consists of Him, because He is one, the only one. But He has an immense number of manifestations. This is considered a very powerful spiritual practice. But even more, a more powerful spiritual practice is that of Lord Shiva, who repeats the name of Lord Rama. Why? Because ultimately, there is a principle of understanding energy in yoga, and Ram, Nam, Lord Ram or Balaram. This is the source of all energy. That is, we must understand that the Lord is the source of everything, and we are not addressing His light, but the very bulb, the very generator. The light bulb shines for the whole world, but the reason is a small generator that is hidden. Therefore, if we turn to the energy generator and comprehend its greatness, its beauty, this is one type of spiritual practice. Thus, nothing exists above the holy name of Rama, except for one, this holy name of Lord Krishna, because Krishna is the one who attracts everyone. It is beauty. The energy comes from beauty. There is no flaw in energy. It is beautiful and perfect. Therefore, the very source of everything is beauty. These are what are manifested in the holy name of Krishna. And that is why the sages say that one can chant 1,000 names of God, which describe His various manifestations in the material world. The Creator, the Most High, the Almighty, and so on. This will be wonderful. It will purify a person's consciousness. But 2 names of Rama are equal to 1,000 names of Vishnu. Why? Vishnu represents all that is supreme, while the name Rama is its source, its energy, its powers. Because all of this is impossible without energy, without power. But even higher than this is the name of Krishna. Krishna, 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 Ram, Hare, Ram, Ram, Ram. The term Hari is a very subtle term. On one hand, Hari and Hara represent the energy of the Lord, the feminine energy, love, because love is the embodiment of feminine energy. Krishna signifies the one who possesses the source of this energy, the source of beauty, the one who accepts this love. In addition to the energy that possesses and governs the entire world, both spiritual and material, the word Roma also signifies joy, romance, and that which provides the romantic fulfillment of life's happiness. Without love, there is no happiness. And Krishna, he is the source of beauty. He absorbs happiness. He nourishes happiness and transforms happiness, returning it in multiple folds, like a generator. We send energy, he is like a starter. He ignites the engine of happiness. Therefore, this eternal cycle of love and harmony is called Sankirtana, the glorification of the holy names. Therefore, all great yogis ultimately come to the realization that, upon understanding the nature of God, they begin to glorify him. And in doing so, they nourish their heart and soul through a generator of infinite energy and endless happiness. In this regard, if a person reaches the highest stage of prayer, they remain in a state of infinite love and infinite happiness. And of course, the Christian book does not mention this, but it provides us with a certain foundation that a genuine spiritual life is impossible without prayer, without the purification of consciousness. Thus, first, prayer purifies the mind of consciousness. Our consciousness is being purified. A person begins to pray. He feels nothing at first, just some images arise in his mind. His emotions, his samskaras, desires, anger, and various experiences come up because all of this lives in our subconscious. And I mentioned in one lecture that all these human enemies, yes, pride, cultivation, anger, they are actually like the facets of one diamond. This does not mean that if you are currently experiencing pride, you do not have anger or desire. All of this exists within you. But the holy name remarkably washes away all these negative aspects, because pride is the feeling of me being connected to God. Anger can be righteous. Division is the manifestation of love. That is, when we cleanse our diamond and it becomes pure and perfect, it then becomes the quality of the soul of our individuality. The Lord does not want to deprive us of our individuality. He is not trying to turn us into androids, zombies, or robots devoid of any willpower. And as some think that religion depersonalizes people and drains their energy, the opposite is true. The absence of religion depersonalizes people. If a person adopts such a monkey-like form, they are free to express their feelings. But that does not mean they have achieved any real freedom. Very often at various festivals, people undress and walk around naked, thinking they are expressing their individuality. In reality, they are simply displaying their foolishness and lust. But they feel that by undressing, they have indeed reached a certain level of freedom. These are all external ideas, external shells, because no one is able to strip down to the level of the soul. Only the soul can be stripped bare by prayer. That is, all the layers of clothing, the mind, the senses, and ambitions can be removed. And then the soul begins to bathe in the ocean of love. It is impossible to enter the ocean of love while wearing material clothing. Only a bare soul can float in this ocean of love, beauty, and harmony, and experience all the fibers of this state in the relationship with the Lord. And he is by no means an ocean, he is a person. Therefore, by crossing this ocean, we meet him as a person, as a friend, as a beloved, and we see his beauty, and we see the beauty of his world, and the beauty of those around. Its personality, this is a very beautiful idea. And if someone says that this idea is too utopian, even the utopian nature of this idea, as well as most communism, socialism, and capitalism, are all utopian ideas. If you look at it, this utopian idea far outweighs all other ideas in this world for its sake. Even if it is just an idea, it is worth giving your life for, because ultimately we live by an idea. We live with the perspective that we will create some communist society where everyone will be happy, we will earn money, everyone will be happy, we will build a new society, we will be happy. But the idea that only love can make us happy is not just utopian, it is more than real. We simply associate the word happiness with money, associate the word happiness with pleasures, associate the word happiness with the prolongation of life. But in reality, all these realities exist only beyond the material world, in eternal, absolute bliss, absolute existence, and complete pure love. In this material world, we are in a virtual game. We are like players going through certain circumstances and different situations. The Lord places us in these scenarios so that we can make the right choices about them and properly assess this game we are in. However, this does not mean that if we correctly evaluate this game, we can simply exit it on our own. No, only the Lord can extract us from this physical existence and grant us true spiritual existence, because we are part of the world of the Lord, but we wanted to control, enjoy, and exploit. And the Lord, like a parent, gave us this. Here is your toy, called the material world, where you can be kings, wage wars, earn, rise, be known, famous, and successful. Yes, within the framework of one life, and in the next life, you will reap the fruits of your actions and continue to learn. And so you will learn until you come to the understanding that this world is merely a virtual game, while love, friendship, beauty, and harmony are all realities of another world. It's like sitting at a computer and eating computer soup. Soon, they will be making receptors that you insert into your mouth. You will be able to sit in VR and enjoy various delicious dishes because the nerve receptors will simulate the tastes. But nothing compares to my bowl of homemade soup that your grandmother or mother made for you with love. So friends, we want to drink the true nectar and to eat the real spiritual food is only possible through prayer, through the fulfillment of our hearts. And so when prayer descends into the heart, it opens our heart, it reveals the soul, it gives us faith, and we begin to perceive this world in a completely different way. The voices of the believer, the voices, let's say, of the transcendentalist, and then this spiritual vision comes to us. Why is it said in Orthodoxy that it is a visual prayer? Because we begin to see God in everything and everywhere, in every heart, the connection of the divine world with all events, even unpleasant one. Even their own death is not perceived by the sages as something like, wow, what a nightmare, I've lost all my savings, all my credit cards, I've lost all my real estate because I died. No, for them, death is simply a transition from the state of a caterpillar to the state of a butterfly. There is nothing terrible about a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. It is frightening for the caterpillar. But the butterfly, when it is reborn and flies, understands that the caterpillar was a kind of life at the level of maturation. However, the life of a butterfly is much more beautiful altogether. So, dear friends, through prayer, we can transform from caterpillars into butterflies. We can soar into the world of pure consciousness or continue to crawl in this so-called world of exploitation, consuming everything around us and believing that the thicker the caterpillar, the more important it is, and the more beautiful the caterpillar, the more perfect its life will be. Make Your Choice is a candid prayer of a wanderer, but the highest book on prayer is the Haridhamma Chantaman by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. It is a very precious book. She is not so easy to understand, but the meaning is very simple. Haridas Thakur, the great Vaishnav saint, an incarnation of Brahma, the patriarch of the universe, incarnates as a simple prayer devotee and leads a simple prayerful life. Can you imagine? Yes, the supreme hierarchy of the universe reincarnates as a simple prayer devotee, leads a humble prayer life, listens to the teachings of Shri Chaitanya, practices them in his prayer, and attains love. This book is very profound and serious, and when I fast, so to speak, for a couple of weeks, I always listen to it again. I manage to do this once a year perhaps, and I reevaluate these things and try to restart my prayer, because maintaining oneself in a state of prayer is not so easy. It is no wonder that only wandering souls engaged in this. Many try to practice prayer in a mechanical way, but unfortunately, this does not yield complete results, as it is more of a mantra yoga for the mind. True spiritual prayer is born only in service and in community. And therefore it is very important, Sankirtan, to pray together and to chant the holy names together. The devotees gather and they begin to chant together. And again, there are a few, let's say, deviations from the prayer. Some people come and think that prayer is something happy and enjoyable, like singing along to music. They confuse mental life with inner life. In fact, bliss does not come from the outside. It comes from within, from whom they are chanting the prayer with, and the quality of those who are praying. So very often, especially in America, I come to such a group kirtan, and when they tell me, this person came with you, he will tell you now, I say, guys, what is the difference between a concert and a kirtan? A concert is for self-satisfaction, while kirtan is for the satisfaction of God, as Krishna has shown us. If we sing to please the Lord, not to please ourselves, then we will be satisfied. But if we try to turn prayer into some form of self-satisfaction, self-indulgence, a kind of masturbation on the portrait of God, I apologize for this word, but it is a very clear understanding, then the results will be very insignificant. Although at some stage such an approach may give a person some acceptance of the mantra, spiritual music and spiritual life, our teachers did not consider this to be genuine, and therefore we do not believe in our tradition that mere superficial chanting of mantras can provide a person with spiritual enlightenment. We believe that encounters with spiritual people, gaining faith through prayer, accepting initiation, following under the guidance of saints, and a very challenging transformational life, perhaps even more than one, can bring true benefit. In any case, no one will ever tell you that it is easy to become an astronaut, easy to become an engineer, easy to become a billionaire, and it is even more difficult to become a prayerful person. But unlike an astronaut, engineer, or billionaire, there are many more opportunities on the spiritual path, meaning that spirituality is much more accessible. There are a certain number of billionaires by karma in this world, but every person by their nature should become a spiritual being. So don't think that becoming a great saint is a priority for just a few individuals. No. In reality, it is a priority for everyone. It's just that not everyone chooses to follow this path. Do not hesitate to embark on the spiritual path and lead your inner prayer life. I can also say one important thing. You shouldn't show everyone that you're a spiritual person. Like a martial arts master, he doesn't walk around with a diploma. And if I don't show everyone that I am a master of martial arts, it's better not to get involved. A person who practices a spiritual life may not even appear to be a spiritual person on the outside, but internally, they possess qualities that are impossible not to notice. A person feels energy, a person feels faith, a person feels his sincerity, his truthfulness. In this regard, remember that it is not about external changes of clothing or, so to speak, adopting certain attributes, like replacing crosses with something familiar and so on. No, it is about an inner deep transformation that comes through the process of communication. And this is exactly why we create these videos. Videos for new people from zero to infinity, so that those who aspire to the spiritual path understand that there is a need to change, but not externally. External changes will happen on their own, while internal changes are always very difficult. All the best. This is Abadut, and I will see you in the next conversation.